Welcome back, listeners, to another deep dive. This time, we're going global. Buckle up for some truly bizarre news stories and what they tell us about the world around us.
And we've got a treasure trove of material to work with today, all from a Hebrew podcast called The News Report That You Deserve. Think of it like a global roundup of the weird and wonderful.
All right, let's jump right in with our first category, unfortunate accidents and animal antics. And I have to say, this first one takes the cake. Oh, and we found a story so unique, it's like stumbling on Bigfoot. Elon Musk seems to be giving away blue check marks like they're going out of style. You'd think people would be happy, right? But some celebrities are straight up refusing them. And it's not just about the money. More on that a bit later. Expert, are you ready for the flying cow?
Oh yeah, this one's a doozy. So picture this. India, a train track,
Right.
a group of cows that wandered onto the wrong side of the tracks. Tragedy strikes, and one of these cows is launched through the air, 30 meters to be exact.
30 meters. Okay, I'm both horrified and strangely curious about where this cow landed.
Well, unfortunately, it landed on an 82-year-old man who happened to be nearby. A tragic accident with a serious side. It really highlights the need for better railway safety, not just for people, but for animals, too.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the most bizarre-sounding headlines have real-world consequences. Okay, let's move from flying cows to a train-related story of a different kind, one that involves a bit less tragedy, thankfully. We're heading to Israel for this one.
Ah, yes. This story had me chuckling. Imagine you're on a train, minding your own business,
Yeah.
when you realize you've missed your stop. And the next one. And the one after that.
Okay, I've definitely been there spacing out on public transport. But an entire train missing a station, that's a new one. What happened?
Well, it seems the conductor, let's just say he had a momentary lapse in concentration. The podcast actually interviewed a passenger on that runaway train, and apparently it was quite the experience.
I bet. I can only imagine the confusion and maybe a little bit of amusement on board that train. It's amazing how such a small oversight can have such a big impact.
It really is. But from missed stops, let's move on to a story about someone who, well, maybe shouldn't have been stopped. We're talking about a very unexpected visitor to a very important residence.
Ooh. Now this sounds intriguing. Who had an unexpected guest?
None other than the White House. It seems that while President Biden was in residence, a determined toddler managed to slip through the security fence.
You're kidding. A toddler. I mean, I know they're surprisingly agile, but the White House fence? That's some next-level security brooch.
Right. Imagining the Secret Service chasing after this little escape artist. But on a serious note, it does make you wonder about security protocols when a toddler can outsmart them.
It really makes you think. Okay, from security breaches to a story that, well, it might make you cringe a little. We're talking workplaces, CEOs, and some seriously questionable judgment calls.
Oh yeah, this one's a doozy.
Yeah.
So we've got a CEO in Utah who's making headlines for all the wrong reasons. He decides to implement a new return to office policy, much to the chagrin of his employees.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, he publicly praises an employee who sold their dog to afford the commute.
He did what now? Use that as an example of good employee behavior.
You got it. He actually called it a sacrifice. Needless to say, the internet did not hold back.
I can only imagine this isn't just about a dog anymore. This is about the pressure some companies put on their employees and what they're willing to sacrifice, or in this case, sell, to meet those demands.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how toxic work culture can become.
It's definitely food for thought. But let's move on from the ethically dubious to something a bit more. Well, let's call it crimes, cameras, and unintentional comedians.
Oh, this next one's a classic. We're talking about the Boston Marathon, a homeowner and a runner who maybe should have planned his bathroom breaks a little better.
Okay, now I need to hear this. Did he miss a porta potty or something?
You could say that. Picture this. You're watching the marathon from your living room when suddenly a runner decides your lawn is the perfect pit stop.
He didn't?
Oh, he did. Relieved himself right there on the homeowner's property. And guess what? The whole thing was caught on a security camera.
You have got to be kidding me. I can't even imagine what was going through that homeowner's mind. That's one marathon spectator experience you don't forget.
I bet. But hey, it's all part of the charm, finding those stories that are both cringeworthy and strangely hilarious.
Speaking of cringeworthy, how about a group of would-be thieves in Scotland who clearly weren't paying attention in tech class?
Oh man, this one's good. So these guys decided to target a property equipped with, wait for it, a live streaming security camera.
No way. They didn't realize it was live.
Nope. They completely missed it. So there they are, breaking in while the homeowner is watching their every move, listening to their every word, all from their phone.
You've got to be kidding me. This is too good. What did the homeowners do?
Well, according to Sahom, the homeowners immediately called the police, of course, but not before having a good laugh at the thieves' expense.
That's amazing. Talk about instant karma. Did the podcast say what the thieves' reactions were?
The homeowner actually said one of the thieves complained that the camera flash was hurting his eyes.
Oh, the irony. It's like they say, Big Brother is watching, and it might be your own security camera.
And from the streets of Scotland, we journey to the vast emptiness of Mars.
Mars. What kind of strange news could we possibly find on Mars?
Well, this one involves NASA's Mars rover and a case of lost and found. Or maybe lost and gone forever.
Okay, you're going to have to elaborate on this one.
So the rover, which, by the way, is a marvel of modern technology, managed to lose its pet rock.
It's what now? You said pet rock, as in a rock.
One and the same. Apparently, this little rock got lodged in one of the rover's wheels a while back, hitching a ride across the Martian surface.
What happened? Did Rolling Stone roll away?
Sadly, yes. Recent images from the rover show that the rock was gone, leaving our intrepid explorer to roam the red planet alone.
Poor, lonely rover. It's a poignant reminder that even on Mars, things change. But, you know, it also makes you wonder, what else is out there waiting to be found or lost?
A question for the ages. And now, for a story, the news report that you deserve. Teased as an exclusive. This one involves a drug bust in Scotland, but with a rather unexpected twist.
Ooh, an exclusive. I'm intrigued. What's the twist?
Picture this. The police pull over a car, suspecting illegal activity. They search the vehicle and find a stash of heroin and cocaine. No surprise there. Right. But wait, there's more.
There's more. What else could they possibly find in a drug bust?
Alongside the drugs, they found a lamb.
A lamb. Like a baby sheep. Are you serious?
Totally serious.
Oh.
A live lamb, just hanging out in the car with the drugs. No word on how it got there, where it was going, or what its involvement in the whole operation was.
This sounds like something out of a movie. What did...
They could barely contain themselves. It was all they could do to report the story without bursting into laughter.
I have so many questions, but I don't even know where to start. It's the kind of story that reminds you that sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. Speaking of things that aren't what they seem, an Israeli news channel recently ran this whole story about a flooded parking garage, luxury cars floating around like rubber duckies. They were going on and on about the damage, the cost, the whole 9 yards. Problem was, the footage was totally fake. It was from one of those apps, you know, the ones that let you add filters and effects to videos. They fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
This incident really shows a growing problem in the digital age. Figuring out what's real and what's made up. With technology changing so fast, it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference, even for, experienced journalists.
It makes you wonder what you can trust these days. Although, to be fair, they did fess up and apologize on air, which is more than you can say for some. But hey, enough about fake floods. Let's move on to a story that proves that sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. Remember how I mentioned those blue check marks on Twitter? Well, it turns out they've become a whole thing. Elon Musk's been shaking things up over there, and not everyone's happy about it.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild to watch.
So these check marks, they used to mean something, right? Like they were supposed to show that you were the real deal.
Exactly. It all started because of impersonation issues. Back in 2009, Tony La Russa, the baseball manager, he actually sued Twitter because someone was pretending to be him.
Oh, wow. I remember that.
That lawsuit was a big reason why Twitter started verifying accounts in the first place. It was all about trust and authenticity.
Right. So people would know they were dealing with the real person or organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then Musk took over and changed the game. He decided to make people pay for these check marks as part of Twitter Blue, his premium subscription service.
Ah, so it became less about being legit and more about, well, who's willing to cough up the cash?
Pretty much. And that's where things started to get really interesting. Suddenly, the blue check mark became a status symbol, a way of signaling that you were part of a certain, well, let's just say not everyone was thrilled about the image it projected.
So it became kind of a turnoff for some people? Like they didn't want to be associated with that?
Exactly. And this is where the celebrities come in.
Ah, because celebrities, they're all about image, right? So how'd they react to this whole blue checkmark shakeup?
Well, let's just say, not well. Jason Alexander, for example.
Wait, the guy from Seinfeld?
The one and only. He basically said he was only keeping his account active to stop people from impersonating him and that he hadn't paid for the checkmark.
Ouch. Not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Then you have Stephen King.
Okay, now that's a big name. What do you have to say about all this?
Well, he was gifted a blue checkmark. And instead of being happy about it, he basically told Musk he should donate the cost of the checkmark to a Ukrainian charity instead.
Wow, he did not hold back. That's quite a statement. So we've got some celebrities throwing shade, others straight up refusing to play along. It seems like this blue checkmark thing backfired a bit, wouldn't you say?
It's definitely created more of a stir than they probably anticipated. And then there's the whole Block the Blue movement.
Block the blue, what's that all about?
It's exactly what it sounds like. People are so turned off by the whole paid verification thing that they're choosing to block anyone with a blue check mark.
Hmm.
It's hard to know how widespread it is, but Twitter actually banned an account called Block the Blue.
Wait, seriously, they banned an account protesting their own system. That seems a bit counterproductive, don't you think?
You'd think. But it shows just how sensitive this whole thing has become. It's like they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They want to make money with Twitter Blue, but by pushing this paid verification so hard, they're alienating some users and making the blue checkmark seem less about credibility and more about, well, something else entirely.
It's a mess, that's for sure. It's almost like they turned the blue check mark into a punchline, you know?
Speaking of which, didn't Drill get caught up in all this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Drill, the comedian, got his hands on a blue check mark and immediately started poking fun at the whole thing. He even said he was all for Block the Blue, while at the same time going back and forth with Elon Musk about it publicly. It was hilarious.
So even the people who have the blue check mark are like, yeah, this doesn't mean much. It's pretty telling. This whole thing is strange. The blue check mark's kind of lost its way, hasn't it? Not really wanted, but everyone's talking about it. But this isn't just about celebrities and comedians messing with a billionaire, right? There are some bigger issues here. You're right. This goes beyond just arguing about who's important online. Take Matt Binder, for instance, a journalist. He's actually written a lot about the Block the Blue movement, and he got a blue check mark, even though he's never paid for Twitter Blue.
So it's like they're not even following their own rules at this point.
Exactly. And that lack of consistency, well, it makes people wonder what's really going on. Owen Jones, a political commentator, he pointed out that by giving him a blue check mark, Twitter was basically saying he paid for Twitter Blue, which could look like he supports things he doesn't.
Yeah, that's not good. It's like the whole meaning of the blue check mark has just vanished, gone completely off the rails from what it was supposed to be.
And that's the problem, isn't it? If verification doesn't equal trustworthiness anymore, then what's the point? How can Twitter deal with misinformation? How can they protect users from impersonators or worse? These are questions they really need to figure out.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Seems like this whole blue checkmark mess has really snowballed into something much bigger. But you know what's even crazier? Remember that stranger than fiction story I mentioned earlier?
You mean the blue check marks they're giving to dead celebrities?
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, it's definitely got people talking. Twitter's giving blue check marks to any account with over 1 million followers, whether they're active or not, or.
Alive or not. So Anthony Bourdain, Chadwick Boseman, Jamal Khashoggi, they've all got blue check marks now. It's just bizarre.
It's definitely a head scratcher. I guess you could see it as a way to honor them and maybe prevent people from impersonating their accounts.
But it just feels wrong somehow, doesn't it? Like putting a price tag on someone's legacy.
It's definitely a sensitive issue. Whether it was meant as a tribute or just an oversight, it shows how complicated things get when you try to manage the digital legacy of someone who's gone. It's not as simple as just deleting an account.
This whole blue checkmark saga has really gotten us thinking. It's not just a Twitter thing, is it? It's about how we view status online, how we decide what to trust in a digital world, and even how we remember those who are gone. It's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely. We've gone from a simple way to verify identity to a symbol that's sparking debate and raising questions about the very nature of online authenticity. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the long run.
It definitely will. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We've covered everything from toddlers infiltrating the White House to the ever-evolving saga of Twitter's blue checkmark. And honestly, I don't know what's wilder.
Agreed. It's been a journey, to say the least.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through the strange and fascinating world of current events. Until next time, stay curious.